Okay, so get this, right? You ready for this? Um, a young woman is getting ready for work. Seems like a pretty normal day, right? Got a towel, it's drying on the rack, clothes are laid out, and then poof, gone.
Just like that.
Yeah, just gone. No struggle, no sign of forced entry, just gone.
Wow.
That's the Jennifer Kesse case in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And it's one of those mysteries that, I don't know about you, but it just grabs you and doesn't let go.
Oh, absolutely. What gets me here, what I think is so fascinating, is the lack of evidence. Almost more perplexing than a chaotic crime scene.
I know what you mean.
It almost suggests a level of planning, of control that's really chilling.
Exactly. Like the perpetrator was like a ghost,
Mm.
leaving almost no trace behind.
Mm.
You've seen it all in your work, right?
Yeah.
What's your take on a scene like that?
Well, right away, it tells you this wasn't just some random act,
Mm-hmm.
right? This was someone who knew what they were doing, someone familiar probably with Jennifer's routines, her condo layout, all of that.
Yeah, yeah. And this wasn't some like backwoods cabin or anything. This was Orlando in a gated community, right?
Mm.
So, for everyone listening,
Yeah.
imagine the shock when Jennifer's parents show up at her place on January 24th, 2006.
Oh, man.
No answer to their calls. She's not at work. And the scene inside is just, well, off.
Off in a way that's both unsettling but strangely sterile, almost as if it were staged.
Staged.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's an idea. Was this like deliberate misdirection?
Mm-hmm.
Or was the perpetrator just that meticulous that they'd literally wiped everything clean?
It's possible. And if we look at the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
Her car being found abandoned a mile away just a few days later, it paints this picture of calculated movements, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whoever took Jennifer likely used her car to get away from the immediate scene.
Okay. And we can't forget about that grainy surveillance footage showing someone parking her car.
Yeah.
You got the FBI, even NASA analyzing this thing.
Correct.
But all they can tell us is a rough height estimate of the mystery figure, 5'3" to 5'5", thanks to a fence blocking a clear view.
And this is where the limitations of surveillance technology back then, in 2006, this is a crucial point, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if this all happened today. High-definition cameras everywhere, facial recognition software.
Oh, yeah.
The investigation, it could have taken a drastically different path.
Absolutely. It's mind-boggling. But back then, investigators were left with, well, this shadowy figure, a handful of inconclusive fingerprints, some DNA fibers from the car, and nothing else. It's almost like Jennifer Kesse just stepped out of her life and into thin air.
And that's where the investigation, it gets really murky, You
Yeah.
have these initial leads that seem promising but fizzle out so quickly. Construction workers at Jennifer's complex, right? She'd expressed discomfort with their behavior before, but language barriers hindered communication. Ultimately, they were cleared.
Oh, wow. So like a Coen Brothers film?
Yeah, kind of, right.
Intrigue, suspicion, but in the end, a whole lot of nothing. And then there's the scrutiny of personal relationships.
Yeah.
Ex-boyfriends, current boyfriend, even a coworker with a, well, bit of a crush.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Talk about awkward for everyone involved, right?
Yeah.
But again, these leads, dead ends.
What really strikes me, what I find so interesting here, is the complete absence of any of Jennifer's personal belongings.
Yeah.
No cell phone, purse, briefcase, no keys. It defies logic unless
What? Don't leave us hanging.
we're dealing with someone who understands forensics. Someone who knew exactly what to take to really disrupt the investigation.
Okay, now that's really interesting. So we're not just talking about a crime of passion here. This seems, I don't know, premeditated, calculated.
It certainly raises that possibility, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And all of this while Jennifer's family is living, their worst nightmare, desperate for answers. This is where their relentless pursuit of justice, it really comes into focus.
And I see that.
They were content to just sit and wait.
No.
Their fight for access to the Orlando Police Department's case files, it's a testament to their dedication. They filed a lawsuit pushing for transparency, a deeper dive into the investigation.
They really wanted to get to the bottom of this.
They did, and they won. In 2019, they secured those files. Over 16,000 pages of evidence, reports, interviews.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the weight of those boxes, both literally and figuratively?
Oh, absolutely.
And that is where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. What do those files reveal? What new avenues opened up? Stick around. All right, so we left off with Jennifer Kesse's family gaining access to, those massive case files.
Yeah.
A trove of information spanning years of investigation. You'd think with that much data, something concrete would have surfaced, right?
You would hope so. But unfortunately, these cold cases, they're rarely that straightforward.
Right.
The files did offer some, new insights,
Okay.
but they also really highlighted the immense challenges that investigators were facing.
Yeah, I can imagine. Give us the rundown. What were some of the key takeaways from all those pages? 60,000 pages.
Well, for starters, it really confirmed that the initial investigation, it was incredibly thorough. Detectives really did chase down every lead, no matter how small.
Wow.
The problem, it wasn't a lack of effort. It was the sheer lack of evidence.
So we're back to that ghost-like perpetrator wiping their presence clean. It's almost too perfect, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's where things get, really intriguing. One theory that kind of gained traction after the files were released
Yeah.
was that Jennifer might have actually known her abductor.
Real?
Someone she trusted enough to let into her condo,
Okay.
which eliminates the need for that forced entry.
Hold on. That adds a whole new layer of complexity to this. If it was someone she knew, wouldn't there be some trace, some connection leading back to them?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But remember what we said earlier. We're talking about someone who was highly organized, someone who meticulously covered their tracks.
Yeah.
Perhaps they intentionally kept their interactions with Jennifer off the radar, knowing that, that would make them a suspect.
So it's like a chess game.
Yeah, kind of.
A battle of wits between the perpetrator and the investigators, even years later.
Exactly.
And all this time, Jennifer's family is poring over these files, searching for that one missing piece, that one overlooked clue.
And their dedication, it's truly remarkable. They've basically become amateur detectives in their own right,
Wow.
working right alongside law enforcement, constantly pushing for new leads.
That's incredible. It's like they're piecing together a giant puzzle, but I don't know, with half the pieces are missing.
Yeah,
It makes you wonder if the answer is just somewhere in those files, hidden in plain sight.
that's always a possibility. Sometimes a fresh perspective, a new set of eyes on old evidence, that can make all the difference.
That's true. Speaking of fresh perspectives, there was a major development in 2022 that brought some renewed hope to the case. Tell us about the Florida Department of Law Enforcement taking over the investigation.
Ah, yes, the FDLE.
The FDLE.
Their involvement is significant for a few reasons. First, it brings in a whole new team of seasoned investigators, experts in cold cases. And second, they have access to cutting-edge forensic technology that just wasn't available back in 2006.
Okay, now we're talking. You mentioned earlier how surveillance technology has evolved, right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of tools does the FDLE have in their arsenal that could actually shed new light on this case?
Well, for starters, there's advanced DNA analysis. Remember those inconclusive fibers found in Jennifer's car?
Yeah.
With today's technology, they might be able to actually extract a much more complete DNA profile,
Okay.
potentially leading to a match in criminal database.
So even a tiny piece of evidence that seemed insignificant back then,
Yeah.
that could now be the key to cracking this whole thing wide open.
Absolutely.
That's got to be encouraging for Jennifer's family.
Absolutely. And it's not just DNA. There's facial recognition software that can actually analyze even grainy images like that surveillance footage of the mystery figure parking Jennifer's car.
Oh, wow.
Now, a clear facial match, that might be a long shot,
Yeah.
but it could potentially narrow down the pool of suspects.
It's like having a whole new set of tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
It gives investigators a fighting chance to finally uncover the truth. It's almost like they're starting the investigation all over again.
Right.
But this time, they're armed with 21st century technology.
Precisely. And with the FDLE's commitment to revisiting old interviews, re-examining every piece of evidence, there's this renewed sense of optimism that, maybe we'll finally get some answers.
Yeah, yeah. But even with all these advancements, it's still a daunting task, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about a case that's been cold for nearly 2 decades.
Of course. The passage of time, it presents its own set of challenges, right?
Sure.
Witnesses' memories, they fade. Evidence degrades, and sometimes potential suspects, they're no longer alive.
It's like a race against time, a battle against the fading trail of this ghost-like perpetrator. But even in the face of these obstacles, the pursuit of justice continues.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this case so compelling, so utterly captivating.
It's a story that reminds us that even in the darkest of mysteries, hope persists.
Yeah.
The hope that someday, somehow, the truth will come to light.
It's almost like we're in a detective novel.
Right.
You've got the vanishing, the lack of evidence, the red herrings, and now a new team of investigators, right? Armed with all this cutting-edge tech,
Right.
ready to I know, dust off this cold case,
It's exciting.
it's enough to make anyone want to grab a magnifying glass and, start sleuthing themselves.
Absolutely. It certainly has all the elements of a gripping mystery.
Hmm.
But what's important to remember here, what I always try to keep in mind, is that behind all the intrigue, the theories, the speculation, there's a real person at the heart of all of this.
Yeah.
A young woman with, a loving family, friends, a future stolen from her.
That's very true. And that's what Jennifer's family has been fighting for all these years, right? To
Mhm.
keep her memory alive, to make sure she's not just a case file, a statistic. They've turned their grief into action, becoming advocates for other families of missing persons, pushing for legislative changes, constantly reminding the world that Jennifer matters.
Yeah, it's amazing. Their strength and resilience are truly inspiring. They've faced, well, unimaginable heartbreak, yet they haven't allowed it to consume them.
Hmm.
They've channeled their pain into a force for good, I think, a beacon of hope for others facing similar tragedies.
It's a testament to the power of love, I think,
Yeah.
of unwavering determination. And it reminds us that even in the face of, overwhelming odds, we can't give up hope. Hope that Jennifer's case will be solved. Hope that her family will find the answers they deserve. Hope that someday, somehow, she'll be brought home.
And I think that's where you, the listener, come in. You
Yeah.
might be thinking, what can I do? I'm just one person.
Right.
But trust me, even the smallest action, it can make a difference.
I totally agree. Maybe you share Jennifer's story on social media, keeping her name and face in the public eye. Or maybe you remember something, anything at all, from back in 2006. A news report, a conversation, something that just seemed insignificant at the time, but now it resonates with you after hearing our deep dive.
Right, yeah. Sometimes it's that one tiny detail, that seemingly irrelevant piece of information that can just crack a case wide open.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate the power of your memory, your observations. If something feels even remotely connected to Jennifer's case, please reach out to the authorities.
Well, we'll include all the relevant contact information in the show notes. You never know. You could be holding the missing piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely.
And who knows? Maybe that one phone call, that one email could finally bring Jennifer home.
It's a thought that should give us all pause, I think. We all have a role to play in these cases, no matter how small. By staying informed, by keeping our eyes and ears open, by sharing information, we contribute to a collective effort to bring justice to those who have vanished.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the baffling disappearance of Jennifer Kesse, I'm left with a mix of emotions, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Sadness for the loss,
Mm,
frustration at the lack of answers, but also a glimmer of hope.
yeah.
Hope that with the FDLE's renewed focus, with the advancements in technology, and with the unwavering dedication of Jennifer's family and a community that refuses to forget,
Yeah.
we might finally see this mystery unraveled.
That's what I'm hoping for too, and that's the most important takeaway from this deep dive. I think that
Yeah.
that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles, the pursuit of truth and justice, that must never cease. We owe it to Jennifer, to her family, and to all those who have vanished without a trace, to never stop searching, to never stop hoping, to never let their stories fade away.
Well said. And on that note, we'll say goodbye for now, but please keep Jennifer and her family in your thoughts. And remember, no detail is too small when it comes to these cases. Stay vigilant, and until next time, take care.